face?
Alright, what's going on, guys? My name's Chopper. So have you ever wondered about the Mob the Dead plane and why it's been occurring in every single map, almost every single map, excluding Der Eisendrache and Gorod Krovi? In Der Eisendrache and Gorod Krovi, we have not seen the Mob the Dead plane, but in the Giant, we see it crash on top of the building. In Shadows of Evil, we see it flying over, and also in Zetsubou no Shima, we see it flying over, and this is confusing everybody. Like, why is the Mob the Dead plane going to all these different maps? I thought in Mob the Dead, you go straight from Alcatraz just right into the Golden Gate Bridge, so why is this happening? Why are we seeing this plane in these different maps? There's actually a cipher in Gorod Krovi, but this cipher is a little bit different. It's actually written in Zulu, and this is like a different language, and if you put it into Google Translate and translate it into Zulu, or translate it from Zulu rather, it gives you more or less just a rough translation of what it actually says. So there's actually people who can speak the language a little bit better, and they actually translate it for us. Now there's two different translations, and they have just slightly different wording, so I'm going to go ahead and just give you one, because it's pretty much the same thing, and I don't want to confuse you with two different ones. So basically, the one person who solved this, his name on Twitter is Lemon Squeezy, and his translation of the cipher reads as follows: "It was the day when the strange plane had a crash landing. In a way, we tore through time and space, flying over ... places that were not supposed to be there. There was no sign of the remains. I don't know where it landed, honestly." So one thing you might be thinking is, how are we sure this is the Mob the Dead crew? Because this could just as easily be Brock and Gary from Shangri-La. If you guys don't know who Brock and Gary is, basically they were the people in the Easter egg of Shangri-La. They were two explorers looking for the power of the focusing stone, and that's what they were on their search for. And eventually, we actually got a cipher in Zetsubou no Shima letting us know what had happened to them, and they were killed in a plane. But that plane talks about going through like some sort of interdimensional like loophole or wormhole, and they got transported, but they ended up dying in that plane. You know, they're eventually killed. So how do we know that this isn't Brock and Gary writing this, or would be written about them rather? How do we know this is the Mob the Dead crew? Well, the thing is, there's no way we can be 100% sure. We can't really verify this is the Mob the Dead crew. We can only use context clues and kind of make educated guesses about who could actually be. Now, the educated guess that we can take is that the Mob the Dead crew has not been kind of wrapped up in the storyline yet. They kind of wrapped up Brock and Gary in Zetsubou. That's a big reason why I think this isn't about Brock and Gary. I think it is about the Mob the Dead crew. And then also, Richtofen makes many quotes about Sal DeLuca and, you know, his execution, talks about electric. There's that's a whole different video on its own. Richtofen talking about the Mob the Dead crew. But basically, I feel like this is basically them being questioned about how did they arrive somewhere. Maybe it's Richtofen questioning, maybe it's Dr. Monty, but somebody's questioning, probably like either Albert or somebody. This kind of sounds like Albert's writing, or what something that he would say. They kind of, you know, they were on their plane, they were winning through like that interdimensional wormhole or portal, whatever, and they ended up somewhere they shouldn't have been, like maybe Zetsubou or the Giant. And then they ended up getting questioned by where they landed, but the plane was not with them. They probably fell out of the plane, but the plane kept going and maybe landed somewhere completely else, and there's no remains anywhere. And that brings me to my next point is, maybe in Mob the Dead, when you break the cycle in the Easter egg, the crew didn't actually die, and Albert takes the rest of the crew. As you can hear on the plane, there's more than just Albert in Shadows of Evil. You can hear more than just his voice. There's everybody else as well, as presumably anyway. We think that there's at least everybody else on that plane. There's no reason why it'd just be Albert, maybe two others, but it sounds like the entire crew is on that plane. Maybe they didn't die at the bridge, and maybe they escaped, and now they're just kind of going through different universes, different wormholes, ending up, you know, flying over Zetsubou, and then Shadows of Evil, and then maybe landing in the Giant. But that still doesn't explain why they never hit Der Eisendrache or Gorod Krovi for that matter, but there's only a cipher written about them in that particular map. So assuming this is Albert talking, or somebody from the Mob of the Dead crew writing this cipher, then that means they're still on the loose. They're out somewhere. They just don't have their plane. They landed somewhere else, and there's no remains or scraps of that plane anywhere whatsoever, and they're on the loose, and they're doing something or other. We really don't know, but that's really all we know. That we kind of sounds like they're being questioned here by somebody, so they had contact with somebody else other than their crew, and now they're being questioned for it, and they don't have their plane to back up their reasoning, but all they can explain is that they went through time and space, been in places they shouldn't have been, and they kind of ended up where they are now without any sort of equipment or explanation. And really, that's all we can assume from now. There's really no other info to suggest that the Mob the Dead crew is still alive and they're out somewhere, and we may or may not run into them in DLC 4, just kind of throwing that out there. We may or may not see them in that map, but basically what this is telling me is that they're out somewhere still on the loose, maybe not in Stalingrad, you know, maybe not in Gorod Krovi, but they're in some other map without their plane. Now, if they're without their plane, that would leave Gorod Krovi and Der Eisendrache, because the plane is not there. Does that make sense? So they could be, or they could have been in one of those maps. We don't know yet, but hopefully we find out some information about that soon. But let me know what you guys think about this. This cipher is super interesting, guys, and I thought this warranted a video on its own, but let me know what you guys think about this. Where do you think the Mob the Dead crew is as of right now? now? What do you think they're up to? And also, why do you think we can't see them in both Der Eisendrache and Gorod Krovi? So that's going to be it for the video today, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, guys. We're going for 65 likes on this video. That'd be awesome. You guys always kill on the like goals. I really do appreciate it. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. Thank you all for watching the video. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. That'd be absolutely amazing. And I'll catch you guys on the next video.